Hey everybody, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I'm Bueller. Today is episode 61 of Coffee, Comics, and Comments. This is where we show you some great books, we drink some awesome coffee, and read some of the comments you guys left on our previous videos. As you can see, I'm not alone. I got my good friend Bob. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited today. Of course, we always start off with the coffee, and I'm pretty excited about that.
I know you are.
It's Eggnog Latte, brought to you by Mocha Express, the official coffee shop of Comics with Bueller. It's really good. What'd you get?
I have an iced coffee with no ice inside of it, and I got sugar-free almond roca sweetener. It's actually pretty good.
Is it really iced coffee if there's no ice in it?
You know, that's one of those things, tree in the forest thing. I don't know, but it's good.
I'll take your word for it. Anyway, I'll try mine.
All right.
It's pretty good. Like I said, eggnog is my go-to drink for the whole month of December and hopefully the month of January as well. As long as they have it, I'm going to drink it.
If you could have it all year round, would you?
Yes, but I'd be huge because it's very fatty.
I bet.
How's your diet going?
It's doing well. As of this morning, 41 pounds, buddy.
That's
41
awesome.
pounds lost.
Awesome.
Woo!
He's looking like a different man. Very, very attractive.
Pretty soon, half of me won't be there.
There you go. Awesome stuff. So we got a lot to talk about today. A ton of great comments. The topic that we have is who had the better year in comics as far as publisher, Marvel, DC, Image. That's what we're going to talk about today. We got a ton of comments about that. A lot of people have a lot of passionate feelings about that.
Sure.
And we're going to share those here in a bit. But the first thing we start off with is our first five. And we show 5 comics at the very beginning each, and at the very end we also show 5 comics, and we also do a comic book review at the end as well. So let's go ahead and start off with our first 5. Bob, go first, my friend.
Awesome. Well, the first book I have is Amazing Spider-Man number 11. Of course, that's got the Doctor Doom cover. Really like that. And I was behind the 8 ball today, so I just ran in my house and I grabbed 5 covers besides the second 5 that I want to show. And hopefully you guys like these ones. This one is X-Men number 14. I love this Havoc cover. Thought that was really cool. And then we got Justice League number 5. And we got some nice cyborg action happening there. This is Black Order number 1. And of course we have... what's his name? It's not Ebony Maw. It's
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
That's not it?
It's not Doctor Strange.
I don't know. Did you read that series?
I did.
Did you like it?
It was okay.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And then we have Infinite Warps, The Arachnite.
Nice.
And I dig those. What's your 5?
Well, hey, great effort finding those books.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time, and for everyone watching, here we go. This is what we got going on.
There we go.
The great books. I have my 5. You can have those back. I'll put mine up here. I actually thought about my books for a little bit.
Okay.
We got Punk Mambo number 1. I really enjoy this book. This is by Cullen Bunn. The series is over, but I don't know if you've read it. I don't think you have, but
I haven't.
It was good. It was like a 5-issue series. Some great looking artwork, some great covers. David Mack did some covers that looked awesome. So love that series. This next one is really cool. This is Silver Surfer Black number 1, the variant. This was like the comic shop exclusive or something like that. It was a preview exclusive. And I don't know if you've seen that cover before, but it's kind of a great looking cover. I wasn't a huge fan of Silver Surfer Black as far as the story, but some of the covers were pretty cool.
Yeah, I read the first issue and I didn't grab anything after that.
Okay. I read the first issue, didn't care for it, and still grabbed them.
All right.
And this next one is Excellence number 1 by Image Comics. This was actually sent to me as a gift from Old School Comics. Thank you so much. He actually sent me the first 6 issues of this series. I've read the first couple, really enjoyed the story. He told me it was one of his favorites. He wanted me to check it out, so wanted to show that. Awesome book. It's kind of a Wizards type thing, and I kind of get a Harry Potter vibe, but kind of more dark
Nice. I'll have to check that one out.
It's a fun story by Image Comics, so I liked it. Another book, another gift from... This is from Sam, from Sam's Tangle. You know that guy?
I do.
Okay, Sam gave me The Punisher No Escape.
Nice.
Kind of cool. He's a big Punisher fan, and so am I. So he gave that to me. Great gift. And then staying with the same theme of gifts, this next one, like I said, I put some thought into this, is X-Men number 100.
I know that book.
An X-Men book I didn't have. Somebody gave it to me, Who might that be?
I don't know. Was it Sam?
No, it's this guy right here. This guy gave me that book live during one of our auctions.
That's right.
Which was just fantastic. I didn't know he was going to do it. It's a book I need. As you can see, actually behind him, I have a little plaque on the wall that's X-Men 100. And I've had the plaque, but I never had the book. And live on air during an auction, he gave that to me. And a little segue, I think we're going to do an auction this weekend. I don't know what day. It's either Friday or Saturday. I'll get more information as we go on in the week. And Robert, the comic book G-Spot Galvin, is going to join me. Myself, him, we're going to do a live auction.
Nice.
Sell some comics. We'll see how that goes.
That's awesome. I like Robert a lot. He's a really good guy.
He is a good guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he sells. He's always got some interesting stuff. Some different stuff that you might not think of all the time.
For sure.
He's got some great collection, and he's going to be sharing it with the community. And I got some books that probably nobody's going to want.
I'll be looking forward to that.
There you go. Those are my first 5. Like I said, thank you so much, Bob, for the X-Men 100.
Absolutely.
I'm almost done with my X-Men run of 94 all the way up to 200.
Nice.
I think I got like maybe 10 books left.
All right.
And still missing the Days of Future Past ones.
Mm.
I don't know why I don't have those.
Interesting.
I have the trade paperback.
Okay.
Of those 2 books.
Yeah,
I don't have the actual books.
Right.
So,
Some of my favorite books.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is our discussion. Like I said before, this discussion comes from our weekly sneak peek or preview video that we do that comes out on Wednesdays. During that video, we ask a question, and we take all the comments from that question, and we discuss them here on the coffee video the following week. Mm-hmm. And this week's question, like I said, was who had the better year for 2019 as far as a publisher? Many different publishers out there right now. Obviously, the big guns, Marvel, DC. But you know what? I'm not surprised. A lot of the independent publishers did very well in this survey. So, Bob, you got the first comment. Go right ahead.
Sure thing. So the first one comes from Old School Comics, and he says, come on, hands down, Bueller had the best year. I love that.
I'll take it. Bueller for the win.
There we go. Then he says, objectively, it has to be Marvel on the strength of the X-Men reboot with the best year. More specifically, you could say Hickman had the best year. Personally, Image had the best year because they published most of my favorite series, Excellence, Reaver, Space Bandits, and Sharky the Bounty Hunter.
So it sounds like you liked a few of them.
That sounds like it.
He's the guy that gave me the Excellence book, so that's one of his favorites. I want to kind of give you some numbers really fast as far as for our poll, what we had, because I actually tallied up everyone's on the comments and see what they were.
Interesting.
48% of the people said Marvel.
Really?
Yeah. 22% said DC.
Interesting.
Followed closely behind by Boom Studios at 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. And then the drop-off from there is huge. Image Comics, 4%, which is kind of surprising.
Very surprising.
We'll get to that a little bit later because they had some great titles. Mm-hmm. Vault Comics was also at 4%. And even IDW got a 2% vote, which I was surprised on that one. But some of the ones that were missing, Dark Horse is not in there.
Wow.
Let's see, Aftershock also is not in there. Source Point Press, they had some great books. They weren't in there either.
Interesting.
And but what do you think about that? What do you think about the heavy side on Marvel getting almost half the votes?
You know, it's funny because I'm almost inclined to say that we have a lot more Marvel fans out there than you do other books, and people you do usually tend, towards what they like the best.
Yeah.
And so I think that may be part of it inside of there. I mean, I don't personally agree with Marvel having the best year. There were a lot of things that I didn't like about what Marvel did. And I think a lot of the things that they did as far as their larger events, they didn't land the plane. But I think it's very interesting that they had such a large part of the poll. Yeah. And I don't know. What do you think?
I had to do some research when I looked at these numbers and I saw them. I was like, okay, let me go back and look at the event books for each publisher, what they did. And let me go back and look at some of the new series that they came up with. I myself, God, Sam's going to kill me. But, as far as events that I really enjoyed more so was DC's events.
Yeah.
And I really liked Deceased.
That was so well done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was kind of like a summer movie type book, And Heroes in Crisis, which actually started at the very tail end of 2018. The first 2 issues were in there. All the rest of them were in 2019.
Right.
So I kind of consider that to be this year's story. I enjoyed that one also. They kind of faltered. I think they're faltering like the what's that one? Event Leviathan.
Yeah, that I couldn't get into it.
Didn't care for that.
Yeah.
But as far as events, the Deceased one was probably my favorite. And we're going to get into it a little bit deeper as we go along, and some of my opinions and stuff. But let's go ahead and move on to Logan Lumpkins. Sure. You're on the ball again with it. This is a long comment.
Yep.
This week he gets the long one. Last week I had the one that took like an hour.
Right.
Now you get it. Feel free to take a breather every now and then.
Not a problem. So this one comes from, like you said, Logan Lumpkins. He says, without question, I would say this has been Marvel's year. DC released a handful of solid ongoing titles this year, a great miniseries in Batman Who Laughs, and an awesome event in Deceased. Their DC Black Label initiative has been extremely profitable and produced what are my personal favorite books of the year. However, DC also dropped a huge number of titles in response to low sales, ultimately eradicating their Age of New Heroes titles. I feel like the hiring of Brian Michael Bendis is absolutely blown up in their face. In a year and a half, Bendis has completely stripped away all of the character development for Superman, Lois Lane, and the Super Sons gained since the DC rebirth in 2016, and he gave us what I thought was the most pointless event of the year, Event Leviathan, which we just spoke of.
There you go.
Then he says Doomsday Clock, which began in November of 2017 and was altered to release as bi-monthly, has only released 3 issues this year so far. Tom King's Batman continued to be extremely divisive since The Wedding, and his Heroes in Crisis event was essentially a character assassination of Wally West. I think that was, they meant to do that, by the way. And then he goes on to say, on the other hand, the majority of Marvel's titles have either remained strong or grew stronger, especially Donny Cates' titles, Chip Zdarsky's titles, and Ewing's Immortal Hulk. Heck, even Captain Marvel is turning things around. War of the Realms and Absolute Carnage were both pretty solid and actually felt like big events, and Jonathan Hickman's House Powers of X was immaculate. In all honesty, I feel like 2019 was one of the best years Marvel has had in a long time compared to DC.
Okay. I love this response because he starts out with, without question, I would say this has to be Marvel's year. That's it. And then he goes on this elaborate thing about DC, like a 2-paragraph thing about why it's not DC.
Right.
And then the last little paragraph is like why he likes Marvel. So he's very passionate about what he didn't like about DC. But he raised some good points. Yeah. And I've heard this quite a bit, that local comic creator Brian Michael Bendis is not doing what he's capable of doing as far as writing stories. A lot of people are disappointed with his work.
Right.
And he's doing a lot of books. And I think starting next year, he's writing something like 18% of DC books. He's writing their books. And from what I keep hearing, and I mean, I've met Bendis. I know him, a little bit and things. And, but I hear a lot of people not happy with his work. So if you take that out of the equation from DC had some pretty great titles. They did, like he said, the Age of Heroes. They canceled that line for the most part, except for the Terrifics.
Right.
But they did launch into the DC Black Label.
Right.
But that didn't happen until pretty much later on in the year.
Pretty much.
And I love this comment about Doomsday Clock only having 3 issues so far this year. I mean, it's literally a series that came out in like 2017 or whatnot. And
it feels like they dropped the ball on it.
They definitely did. And it's, even though the book is enjoyable, it's too far in between the next issue. We're finally getting the final issue like next week.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, so I'm excited to finally have that book. But I don't know what's going on anymore. It's been so long. I need to go back and reread them or pick up the trade when that comes out. I mean, that's the book that I would say go pick up the trade.
Right.
Because it's literally been almost 3 years for this 12-issue series to hit the market. What's your initial things on his criticism on DC?
Well, I mean, if you take Bendis out of the equation, because let's just face it, I mean, so far it's dropped flat. It really has. But also, I'll just want to say this before I go on. I have faith in Brian Michael Bendis. Everything that he did at Marvel was incredible. He's an incredible writer, and I would say that a lot of the things that he's doing is laying groundwork for what he's going to do.
Do you think it's the different type of characters that DC has that causes the problem?
I think that's part of it. I also think it's very difficult for a writer to stay fresh. He comes into DC, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to do at DC what he did at Marvel. He wants to write different types of stories. He wants to do different types of character exposés, and I would venture to say that going forward, we'll see a lot of great work out of Brian Michael Bendis. I just think that this is not people's flavor of what they were expecting from him. But I do have faith in him, and I think going forward we will see some great stuff coming from him. Now, going on from that, you know,
awfully nice of you to say that, considering he lives right down the street from us.
I don't know the man personally.
Okay.
I've met him a couple times, but I really love his work, and every time that he comes, I always try to go see him. And but yeah, so anyway, going on with the stuff that DC has come out with, you just mentioned Deceased. What a great work! I was really pleased with that. Yeah. Had a great time. And then as far as the Heroes in Crisis, I really enjoyed that. I know that they assassinated Wally West inside of that as far as his character, but here's the thing. If you look at the Tales of the Dark Multiverse and what they're doing inside of the Flash Forward books right now, they're bringing that all together.
Yeah.
And you're going to use Wally West, I think, to be the savior of this next Crisis event that's coming. So I think that it was all set up, and I'm on board for it. I can't wait to see it.
He also mentions, the Batman by Tom King. Obviously, Tom King did the Heroes in Crisis. Batman is their flagship book.
Right.
Okay? It's been so inconsistent for the whole year and for quite a while now.
Since the wedding.
Yeah, and that's a little frustrating to have your flagship book. I mean, it's their number one selling regular series book, has been for a long time.
Sure.
And every issue is like, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? There's no consistency to it. We're getting that turned over to a new writer after this next book. I'm really looking forward to seeing a new take on Batman.
James Tynion.
Great guy. He's doing Something That's Killing the Children, which is one of the best books of the year in my opinion. Sure. I really hope he takes it in the direction it needs to go, because, like I said, it's the flagship book.
Right.
Detective Comics is out there. You love that book. It's the second-tier Batman book, but it's a lot better, isn't it?
I've been having a lot of fun with it. I really have. I was talking with Damien from Sleepy Reader 666 about this today, and when Tom King set out to do this storyline inside of Batman, I think he had a concept of wanting to do something, but what he did was he said, I'm gonna do this next 100-issue story, right? Which is a huge undertaking. And I mean, I think the concept of having 100 issues to tell a story is a great thing to think about, but landing the plane on that, I think, is very hard. And I think that's why you have more of an inconsistency. Instead of saying, I'm just going to tell a good story, he went about it saying, I'm going to tell a good story in 100 issues. Yeah. And I think that's the problem with it.
It's definitely stretched out, and
absolutely.
I don't know. It needs to be condensed. There's a lot of filler in there. And like I said, for the main book to have that, it has to have a higher standard, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, Logan also mentioned all the positive stuff about Marvel that he liked, and just some of the creators on there: Donny Cates, Chip Zdarsky, Al Ewing from Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk is still going strong. It actually overtook Batman as far as the number one selling book for, I don't know if it still is, but it did for a while.
Right.
And then he mentioned Captain Marvel is turning things around. I know a lot of attention is being focused on Captain Marvel again, and it's kind of nice. I mean, obviously they ended the year with the Jonathan Hickman X-Men books. Big, huge event.
Absolutely.
A lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts, and now that event is over and the regular books have launched, there's a lot of stuff going on in the X-Men universe. And it's not easy to follow along.
No, it's not. It's not. And I would say that what Hickman has done with the whole X universe, it feels like a pocket universe unto itself, because we still haven't seen any of this spill over into any other books. So I'm still holding out that there's something up with that.
It's almost impossible to drag it to another book. How do you tie what's going on there into Daredevil?
Exactly.
It's almost impossible.
We haven't seen any of it spill over into anything.
Yeah.
And now that's what I'm. You're exactly right. To actually try to tie it into some of the rest of the stuff, I don't. So this is why I'm kind of holding my breath, waiting for what they're going to do next with this.
Yeah.
But what he's done so far, I've loved it. I really have. It's been enjoyable. But I wouldn't call that a major Marvel event. It's a major X event, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. And a revamping of the books. But as far as the major events that Marvel had this year, Absolute Carnage and
War of the Realms.
I'm sorry, War of the Realms to me was subpar. It didn't grab me.
It didn't grab me really either.
And then with Donny Cates doing the Carnage books, I think then in the very first couple of books where it was like, wow, this is the Cates stuff that we love.
Yeah.
And it was kind of consistent throughout, but I mean he didn't land the plane on it. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And so it didn't do what I was hoping it would do. And so did Marvel really have great? You mean big crossover events this year? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, we got to move on. This is gonna be a long video, man.
Yeah.
Here we were worried about what we're gonna talk about,
For
but
sure.
here we go. We're on. This next comment is from Tian. I think that's right. Scriven. Tian Scriven says, "Hey man, I would say it was DC's year. They had the best event, Deceased. They also had the most genres. The normal comics, the Black Label, and horror. Black Label has been great. Hill House Comics has also been great and delivers something very different. They also have a lot of normal hits like Batman Who Laughs, Batman Curse of the White Knight, Batman The Last Night on Earth, Superman Up in the Sky, Hawkman, The Flash, Justice League Dark, Batman, Superman, Detective Comics, Tales from the Dark Multiverse, and they probably had the biggest event of the year with the Luthor and the Infected." Big DC fan right here, obviously. I mean, listed almost every title that they have, which I think is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Now, we've already talked about Deceased, but I want to say why I liked it so much. Mm-hmm. It was self-contained. Mm-hmm. They had one little tie-in that came on with it. It was just an extra book about some other heroes or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it was a totally different universe. Okay, there's no canon involved in that book. And I loved it. I picked up the first book. I was attached to it from the very beginning. I wanted to see what happens. The outcome was very devastating. Every superhero almost is gone.
Right.
And now they're going to be making another one, which is like the sequel to it, and that looks like a lot of fun. By far, and I know when it came out, people, I don't know if I like Deceased. By far, that was my favorite event of the year, was Deceased.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had the same feelings going into it. I don't know if I'm going to like this because let's just face it, Marvel and DC, they troll off of each other quite frequently. And so here we are with DC finally doing a zombie book, and all I kept thinking was, Marvel did one, so we have to do one. Yeah. But it wasn't like that at all. This was really well done. The storytelling was really well done. I liked the artwork inside of it. And, I know they have another one coming out. Just the cover with, because they've started to come out with some of the covers. Yeah. Just the cover with Wonder Woman's tiara, that's the It. That looks so insane. I can't wait for that one. But it was an amazing event. It really was.
Very much so. Let's go ahead and move on here. We've been talking a lot about Marvel and DC. And this next one is from Ian Baldwin. It says, Boom Studios 100%. Once in future, Something's Killing the Children. The East Berlin one, I can't remember the full name of that one. Power Rangers, Buffy, and others. They have to be Publisher of the Year. Having said that, Cates and Hickman have had a great year at Marvel, but what else? This is the difference between the big two and the rest. Marvel and DC put out many books with the best writers writing too many titles. Bendis puts that in there.
Yep.
Which I think affects the quality. With the small companies, they have to make sure every book is good. Less is more. Plus, most independent books are passion projects which the creator owns.
That's a good point. A lot of the independent titles that have been coming out, I'm seeing more this year that have grabbed a hold of me than I have seen in recent past. So I like that he brings up a lot of the books from Boom. Image has had a lot of great titles, and IDW, and so I'm really loving the talent that's coming out of the independents. And as far as him talking about how some of these writers that are doing so much work and that less is better, I don't know if I agree with that, because some of the most prolific writers that we've ever had come out of Marvel, I'll just say Stan Lee, one of them, huge body of work, doing many titles at once, and he was able to pull it off just fine.
He's an anomaly.
I know. I
mean, you're talking about a total anomaly.
But like just this week, right? Jerry Duggan. I had 3 books from Jerry Duggan. They were all amazing.
Yeah,
and
but that doesn't mean that they're writing them all at the same time. Some of these projects are written a year in advance before they even get published, especially for these independent titles.
Right.
I know that, and here's the thing about Boom. Boom got 20% of the vote.
Right.
That's a big chunk from an independent studio, beating
Image.
Image by quite a bit. It wasn't even close. And if I look at Image titles, and just some of the popular ones right now, Die, Dead Eyes, Sea of Stars, Murder Falcon, Criminal, Middle West, Farmhand, Oblivion Song, The Walking Dead event this year, the Spawn event this year, Undiscovered Country.
Those are all amazing titles.
Those are all great titles this year.
Sure.
But yet, Boom had 20% compared to 4% Image. It wasn't even close.
That's amazing to me.
And I like Boom. Now, Boom doesn't have the amount of titles,
right?
But they have some quality books, and then throw in the fact that they have some licensed books with Power Rangers and some of the other ones. They've got a recipe for success. Something is Killing the Children, one of my favorites. Once in Future, I know a lot of people really enjoy that book. It's not one that I have kind of gotten into.
Right.
Have you read that one?
I have not. You have to. I have just started getting back into independent comics. I just started collecting again in the last 2.5 years. And so I started with what I know, and now I'm getting back into a lot of the independents, and all the stuff I'm picking up is really great. Yeah. Haven't picked up Once in Future. Love Something is Killing the Children, and so I'm really getting into picking up some of the stuff I haven't in the last couple of months, just based on what readers are bringing up. So I'm enjoying that.
I have to make a little side note about Boom Studios and a couple other of the independent publishers. Their quality, the actual physical quality of the book, is better than Marvel. The pages, the covers, thicker cardstock. They don't rub off on your hands when you're reading your book.
Right.
That goes a long way with me. And they don't charge an extra $1 for a cardstock cover either.
They don't.
They don't. It's the same price.
Absolutely.
Makes you think, right?
It does. We talked about that last week. Is this a cash grab for DC? But
exactly.
Anyways.
All right, you're up next on the next page. We got Pop Culture Philosophers. This is Rock and Robbie.
Rock and Robbie. Love your reviews, Rock and Robbie. And let's see what Robbie has to say. He says, best year for me belongs to both Boom Studios and Vault Comics. Boom had a string of successful launches. Something is Killing the Children, Once in Future, Strange Skies over East Berlin, Ghosted in L.A. And Vault produced some of my favorite comics this year. These Savage Shores, The Plot, Fearscape, Friendo, Maul. Great video, Bueller. Keep them coming.
Robbie's on the pulse of comic books. So this is the gentleman that reads 40, 50 comic books every week.
Right.
He works at a comic shop. He knows what he's talking about. He does great reviews on his channel. In-depth reviews. I've got a chance to talk with him and kind of get to know him over the last month or so. Great guy. His opinion on stuff like this really matters to me.
Absolutely.
Because he's comparing story after story after story from all the publishers. And when he sits there and tells you that Boom Studios and Vault is putting out good product, he knows what he's talking about.
You have to listen to it.
You have to pay attention. And some of the Vault books that he mentioned, I really like Vault as well. Maul is one of my favorites. The Plot has been a really good one as well. Great publishing company. Also another company that has nice quality books.
Absolutely.
Which goes a long way. But, The Strange Skies over East Berlin, that's the one I was trying to think of. But a lot of great books, and it's so neat to see other publishers besides Marvel and DC
and Image
get mentioned as far as Publisher of the Year. And the one thing that I enjoy about this, none of these are superhero books.
Right, exactly. Which, I mean, I think we're starting to see a turn.
Yeah.
In that, I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, most of the genre wasn't superhero books. They were romance, westerns, horror, and all these other different types of titles. And but it's been predominantly superheroes since the 60s. Yeah. Now we're seeing this renaissance of great storytelling in different formats, and I'm loving it actually. it gives me hope.
Yeah.
Right. A comment like this and understanding who it's coming from gives me hope, because the thing that worries me, and I'll just put it on the table, the thing that worries me is now that Marvel and DC are owned by these bigger corporations, right? It's very easy for those corporations, if those smaller entities and other companies are not making money, just to cut them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we have writing on the wall, on the table with DC, and their executives didn't even mention the DC entity of their company as far as what they're doing going forward. That's a red flag. And if they cut out DC, if they cut out Marvel, right, what's going to be left? And this is the type of thing that I'd love to discuss later on, and maybe in a different episode. But with things like that in the works, it's our independence that I think are going to keep this medium that we love alive. So I love that comment.
Doom and gloom right here. What the heck, man? Come on. Keep hope alive, right?
I know.
Okay. I got the next one here. It's from Robert Nasita, I believe. Nasita. Says, awesome channel. Thank you, Robert. Recent subscriber from Comic-Con 101. I think DC has had the best year. They have had so many great stories and miniseries this year, continuing the Dark Multiverse with Tales from the Dark Multiverse and the Batman Superman book. Batman Last Night on Earth has also gained a lot of traction, along with Deceased and Curse of the White Knight. The Justice Doom War in Justice League has been great storytelling. Along with that, we also get the conclusion of Villain of the Year event, which has spawned some great artwork. Last, we finally get the conclusion to Doomsday Clock. I can't tell you how many people are talking about the conclusion. Another fan of DC.
Another fan of DC.
Much more of a fan than Logan Lumpkin was.
Sounds like
Let's just
it.
say that. I want to bring up some of the books he talked about in here. And like I said, thank you again, Robert, for coming on over from the Comic-Con 101 channel. The Dark Multiverse, those have been kind of hit or miss for me. Some of them are really good. I really enjoyed the Death of Superman one. But the most recent one really didn't grab me. I can't even remember what it was called. I think we got to give a little bit of attention to the DC Black Label.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been killing it with the Black Label. Whether it's in the larger, magazine format or in the smaller books, the writing is great, the artwork is great. It feels so fresh, and I'm excited to see these books.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt that way in a long time. What they're doing with Hill House and I can't think of his name. Brian Hill. Anyway, the horror books that they're coming out with, like Dollhouse and Basket Full of Heads, and some of the other titles that they're going to be coming out with. I'm excited about these books.
Yeah.
Great writing, and so I think they're killing it with Black Label right now.
I like it. I like the fact that they need to get away from Batman Joker.
They've done way too much of that.
9 out of 10 of them have been Batman Joker related books. They just came out with The Question, which is great. It's a different. I'm glad that they're doing that, but I want to see more Black Label stuff with other characters. One thing I totally forgot about, I mentioned the Black Label last week, is it's a bigger format with the bigger magazine style books. They don't have ads in those books, and that's the one reason why they're a little bit more money. For one, they're a little bit bigger, but there's no ads in there to compensate for the loss of revenue.
Right.
And it's something I just forgot to bring up last week. But the Black Label books are definitely bringing a lot of attention to them. A lot of the talk is around those books, and especially since the big launch with the Batman Damned one, earlier,
right,
kind of made a big splash, and then everyone's like, okay, what are they going to do next?
Right,
type thing, and that's they did a good job, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when they came out with Batman Damned, I was kind of on the fence myself, because we didn't see.
Were you really?
I was, man. Because we didn't see anything
Multiple
on that book
copies
come out. I did. I bought one too. Anyway, shut up. Anyway, bottom line is that they. They didn't produce another book for a couple of months, and it was like, being delayed. We didn't have any other Black Label books, and I'm like, oh, this Black Label thing is already in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? But then this year, they've been killing it with it. So.
Yep. Very cool. Thank you so much, Robert, for the comment. A lot of great stuff. Last one is for you. You can read that one. It's from the Comic Club.
Absolutely. And he says, without doing any real analysis, my DC readers seem to be much happier with their comic book reading in 2019 than my Marvel readers. But there sure seemed to be a lot more positive talk about Deceased, Doomsday Clock, and the new Black Label offerings. Marvel talk seemed to mostly be about complaints. Indies out of Image got a lot of positive buzz from customers as well.
That's from a comic shop owner.
Right.
That's the comic club or comic pusher. He has a comic shop in Florida. So I wanted to read his comment because obviously he's dealing with readers of books every day. Obviously a bigger pool than probably what we had to go by the comments. And you know what? I would agree with that statement. And you know, I'm a Marvel guy. And
So am I.
I love Marvel books. But when I have to sit down and look at the year, as far as the whole body of work, that doesn't mean they have my favorite books, but I'm looking at the whole body.
Right.
And when I look at the events, like Deceased, and I look at Black Label, and I look at possibly the conclusion of Doomsday Clock, and a bunch of other stuff, I kind of have to lean the way of DC for my pick. War of the Realms really didn't do it for me.
No.
The other big event, Absolute Carnage, so many tie-ins. It's hard for me, I'm getting old, to keep up with what's going on,
Right,
man. It's just, I want something self-contained that's a little easier to digest. And Marvel has the track record of just going, here's 50 tie-ins to go in with this series.
Right.
The same thing with War of the Realms. And it's very hard for me to sit down there and kind of consume all that content.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great stuff from Marvel's catalog that I liked that was more condensed and self-contained. Really loved the Daredevil run. Really loved the Immortal Hulk run. Mm-hmm. And some of the other books that were just small series. I love those as well. But all in all, I got to give it to DC as far as a body of work. They don't have my favorite book. Mm-hmm. Or maybe 2 or 3 of my favorite books. But they have the body of work. I got to give it to them.
Yeah, and I would agree. You know, I am also a Marvel guy, and you know that's my wheelhouse. I mean, Wolverine and Daredevil are my 2 favorite characters of all time, and you know I want Marvel to just kill it.
Yeah.
But I got to admit, you know, it's been a long time since I've been excited about DC books, and the stuff that they put out this year made me really. You'll hear it in my reviews. Yeah. I get really excited about this stuff, and so I think they've put out better work. And you know, that's what my vote is as well.
Yeah. Now, my 3 favorite books this year are all from independent publishers. My probably 3 or 5 books. Midnight Vista, one of my favorites by Aftershock Comics. Something is Killing the Children by Boom Studios. IDW, Pandemica or Pandemerica or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. Another one I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Those are all independent publishers. Those are the books I like the most. None of them were like superhero type books. Mm-hmm. And I'm really liking those styles.
Yeah.
They're easy to jump in, and they're good. The only reason I'm not picking some of these smaller studios is because they just don't have the body that DC has.
Absolutely.
Or that they put, or even Marvel has, you know, type thing. So that's kind of why I'm going with those.
Understood.
But this is a great topic. This is a lot longer than we probably thought it would.
It's okay. But,
you know, we like talking about comics. And here's the thing. The Comic Club, our next question, which will be on our sneak peek video or preview video this coming Wednesday, he actually provided the question earlier, a couple months back. The question is going to be, if comics had no monetary value, would you still collect?
Love that question.
That is the question. It'll be in the video for the preview video on Wednesday. Make sure you watch that video on Wednesday. Leave a comment on that video. And then, like we do on Monday, we talk about that in the coffee video. But it's a great question. Like I said, if comics had no monetary value, would you still collect?
Interesting question.
Very interesting.
We'll leave the discussion till then.
It'll be a lot of really good discussion. Okay, let's do our final 5. Mm-hmm. And let's see. I was up. You're up.
Sure.
Go for it.
All right. So these last 5 books, these are the books that I'm getting signed at the executive officer signing event at I Like Comics this week. Of course, that's happening on Tuesday, December 10th from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be amazing. But I brought Amazing Spider-Man number 332, and I'll get Eric Larson to sign that one. Next, we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 25. I'll get Jim Valentino to sign that one. Then we have Walking Dead number 19. Not the original cover. I know that that's worth a lot of money. This is the variant cover by J. Scott Campbell, but it is my favorite issue because it's the first appearance of Michonne. And I'll get Robert Kirkman to sign that one. And then I'll get Todd McFarlane.
Nice.
There's so many Spawn books that I love, but I picked a cover that I absolutely just grabs me and has enough room for him to sign it so people can see it. That's Spawn number 96. Love that cover. And then my last one for Eric Stevenson.
Love it.
This is a Rob Liefeld cover. Wolverine number 133. And I am really excited about this event.
Love that guy. Hey, a side note real quick. I talk about Rob Liefeld quite a bit. And I get a lot of people ask me, are you really a fan of Rob Liefeld? Because they can't really tell if I'm kind of joking or whatnot. I'm a huge fan of Rob Liefeld. The bottom line is, I find the guy very entertaining. I've been a fan of his artwork from, honestly, the very beginning. Some of his stuff is better than others.
Absolutely.
But I still think about the guy. So I am a true fan of Rob Liefeld, even though he's blocked me on Instagram. He hasn't blocked me on Twitter yet.
Right.
But I'm a fan, Sir Rob Liefeld. Thank you so much. But those are really cool books. So I'm curious, you have books that you're going to have them sign at an image signing event, and they're not Image books. You okay with that?
I am. Well, except for the Spawn book. But yes, I am okay with that because that's where I started with a lot of these guys. I also have one for Mark Silvestri, one of my favorite Wolverine covers of all time.
Nice.
And hey, their work at Image is great. I'll never put that down. But these are books that have meant something to me for a long time, and those are the ones I'm going to have signed.
Right on. Yeah, like you said, this event happens on Tuesday, December 10th from 7 to 10 o'clock at night at I Like Comics. We actually have a link down below if you want to check out some more information. You might be watching this video and it already happened. But if you're local, go check it out. If you're not, you think you can make it in town, there's going to be a lot of people there and it's going to be crazy. And it's free. Let's not forget to say that. It's a free signing for all these great creators. So it's
absolutely
pretty awesome.
And both of us are going to be there, so if you do show up, come say hi. Just say hi to us.
Exactly.
Let us know what you think about the show.
We'll be there somewhere.
For sure.
Okay, I got my final five. And this is a play on something I said a little bit earlier in our conversation about so many tie-ins. This is one of my favorite series. Fantastic Four versus the X-Men.
Oh,
this came out in the 90s. This is a 4-part series. There's no tie-ins.
Nope.
It's all in here. Number 2. Number 3, great covers, great artwork, just a fun story. And number 4, I don't need to know anything else. Just read it. It's done. I'm not confused anymore. There you go. They did a bunch of those with the X-Men Avengers, X-Men Micronauts.
Remember that?
Yeah, X-Men Alpha Flight. Those are all great. And my last book is from my favorite, actually my favorite series of the year, actually, is Midnight Vista number 4 by Aftershock Comics. I'm a science fiction guy. I love aliens, stuff like that. I've talked about my alien story before. This kind of reminded me of that. And I really enjoy this book. There's only one more to go. There's issue 5. I've heard it's really good. They wrap it all up. Awesome book. If you're not reading this one right here, you should, because it's really good. Midnight Vista by Aftershock Comics. Awesome.
That's good stuff.
Okay, we're doing a review now.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. We got to do our review. This is Image. This is 20XX or 2020. What is it?
20XX is what I think.
Okay,
it is.
20XX by Image Comics. Bob wanted to review this book. Well, let's hear what you got to say.
So, like I said, it came out by Image Comics this week. There was a lot of hype around it, and so I wanted to check it out.
I never even heard about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, the first person I heard about it was on this last Wednesday night when the new comics came out. Robbie's video.
Yeah.
And he came out and he reviewed it and he really liked it.
That's
and
why I bought it.
Exactly. And so, but beyond that, even inside of my local comic shop, people were talking about this. And so, Robbie put me over the top, grabbed it. First thing is that it's a black and white comic. And I'm not too partial to black and white comics. I know Walking Dead was great. But again, if it's a black and white comic for me, the story is going to have to really grab me.
Yeah.
And this story was really good. It puts you in an X-Men setting. It's basically about a disease that's hit the world, and if you survive this disease, there's a small population of the world that'll survive this disease, and if you survive it, you'll manifest these powers.
Yeah.
And so they basically become like mutants.
Full spoilers, by the way.
Full spoilers. Sorry about that.
No, keep going. Keep going. Full spoilers.
All right. So bottom line is really the artwork it's pretty darn good. The story held me through the whole thing. I was with the main character. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to just about anybody.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't even notice it was in black and white. And that does take me out of the story. But the story itself was so good, I didn't mind it being in black and white. And this, it's definitely a throwback to that Mutants book, to a Chris Claremont type thing. Early stages of that.
Absolutely.
But definitely you get the reference to mutants. And like he said, there's a virus that kills like 99% of the people.
Right.
And the people who get infected, it happens very quickly. I mean, the girl in the book, the main character, she was fine one day, and like within an hour, she's on her deathbed.
Right.
And she's saying goodbye. She's like wrapping things up, you know, and she was on her way to work, and she just got promoted, and now that's going to fall apart. And so she basically goes into a coma, and she's basically dead. Well, she comes out of the coma here a few weeks later.
Right.
And she survives. She's one of like the 0.1% that survives this disease. When she comes out, her life had moved on. Like her job, right. They replaced her. You know, she's trying to get a hold of friends, and they're doing stuff. Even though it's been a few weeks, the world keeps on moving.
Right.
And so she has to adapt, and she's trying to find areas where she fits in, and that kind of drives her to find other people that have survived this disease. Mm-hmm. And these other people who have survived, even though they have powers and they manifest these things, they're looked at as outcasts.
Right, right.
That is strictly from the mutant thing. That is totally Chris Claremont stuff. That's one of the things he drove for when he was writing those books. Mm-hmm. And to see how fast she manifests those powers, literally at the end of the book, she blows that guy's head off.
So good.
She doesn't even know what's going on.
No.
But she just does it type thing. It's a fun series. It's something that caught me off guard. Like I said, it's in black and white. It's different, but it didn't matter. You know,
right.
And it's a lot of fun. So if you're into kind of a mutant type story, this is it. I give it a full thumbs up. I mean, absolutely. I know on yours you give
2
it
sticks up.
2 sticks up. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Really enjoy this book. Adding it to my pull list, and looking forward to the next issue.
Absolutely, yeah. This is actually one of my favorite books that has come out so far this year. I really can't wait for the next one to come out. You know, just the emotional hits of what she's going through really resonated with me. And then the other part of it is that we know that, you know, mutants are outcasts, or the people that have the disease are outcasts. But the really cool part of it is how they really made it subversive. And you do not show that in public, because we're not allowed to use our powers.
Yeah.
And they got all these people behind doors that are using them, you know. And so it was just cool the way that juxtaposed. And I really can't wait for the next issue.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was something recently I watched to where I think it was The Boys.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
To where I was watching that show where they take the guy into this room, and there's all these people with powers just doing stuff like in this nightclub.
Right, right.
That's kind of the vibe I got from that as well.
Exactly. So, exactly.
A lot of fun. Good book. Can't say enough about it. Definitely pick it up.
For sure.
Anyway, that's our show, guys. A lot of stuff we covered today. First 5, final 5. Great topic. Review, you name it. Bob, thank you so much for joining me again. You want to let them know a little bit about your channel?
Absolutely. Of course, I'm from Everything Comics, so you can always find me there on Saturdays, doing a coffee video as well. And that's pretty much my mainstay going forward. Next couple of weeks, I'm going to have Damien from Sleepy Reader 666 as a guest. And then the following week, my good friend Sam from Sam's Tangled Web, he'll be a guest on the show as well. So look forward to those. And I'm having fun with this, guys.
It's a lot of fun. Just so you guys know, he films that at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Who does that? Who does that?
Obviously
I've been there twice, and I'm like, give me a break. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Bob, thank you so much. This has been great. Appreciate everyone's time. Don't forget, might be doing an auction this week, probably this weekend, Friday or Saturday. Not 100% sure on the day. I will let you know. And don't forget to check out the preview video on Wednesday for the question, and leave your comment down below. Also, tell me what you thought about the topic we covered today. If you missed your chance to leave a comment on the preview video last week, you can leave it on this video. Let us know how we did. All right, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.